We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is June the 25th, 2013, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will lecture on Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2010, class number 274. And now Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Gyan Murtim Dvandvatihitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatihitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namam. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme precept. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana Section 64. A profound insight is being given into the process that leads you to enlightenment. And to have a very clear understanding of what does it mean to be enlightened. Your attention should be directed towards who am I? The I am relates to Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. How many I ams are there? One without a second. How many suns do they illumine the earth planet? Only one sun you need. But that's just a simile. The I am is like the sun. Countless I ams manifest through conditioned minds. Every individual views himself, I am separate from others, with the whole world before in me. So all these countless I ams, they are like reflections. The sun can reflect in countless jars. But when you ask how many suns are there, of course, the jar that doesn't know about mathematics sorry, mysticism, will say there are many. In one jar is a frog is croaking, in another jar some fragrance is coming from it, from another jar some onion is cooking. Different jars giving different types of realities, and there are countless. I'm just giving you some exaggerated way to understand. But the reality is that all reflections are same. So when you ask that question, any reflected sun asks that question, who am I? The answer must go beyond the jar, beyond the water, beyond the contents of the water, beyond all limitations. The answer is transcending all, the sun. Similarly, when you ask yourself, who am I? The answer lies in gaining insight. I am not the physical body. Physical body is like a jar. I am not the mental contents of this jar. I am not the vasanas, the subtle desires that keep the water in different conditions muddy or clear. I am not all that relates to the jar, the water, the contents. I am not all that relates to the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, the ego. I am that am I. This revelation is the central key in all religions of the world. Therefore, the biblical story of God asking Moses, rather Moses asking God, "What's your name? Who are you?" And the answer is, "I am that am I." The purpose of satsanga and sadhana is to listen to these teachings, allow your mind to reflect upon them, and keeping that in view, let me go on giving you what Yoga Vasistha is presenting. Jiva, or the individual soul, is like an elephant. Elephant that is sinking in mire. It's a marshy land. An elephant is trapped. It wants to get out of it, puts its foot and sinks. Goes halfway, somehow it succeeds, comes out of it, then again slips back. It's a pathetic scene when you find elephant caught like this. See, all the TVs will be involved. This elephant, not only trapped in that marshy land, he's been tied to a very strong post. So even if it were to get out of the marshy land, it can't just move away. That post is ego, ahamkar. Ahamkar is that function of your mind which constantly goes after me and mine. This is me, these things are mine. Joy and sorrow of your mind depends upon me and mine. That's why people wait to go to sleep. Because during sleep state, you don't have the me and mine. That's why every mantra ends with Namah. The root letters of Namah relate to neither me nor mine. Na ahamata, na mamata. Together is Namah. But this post of ego is extremely strong. Only when ignorance is removed that this ego will become vulnerable. Ego will be outstepped. And again, ignorance and ego both are interdependent. If ego is rajasic, tamasic, intense, ignorance continues to fluff itself. On the other hand, if ego becomes humbler, sattvic, you have a subtle insight to explore the palace of your ignorance, to destroy it. That's what Ramayana and Mahabharata create many stories. In Ramayana, Rama has to destroy Ravana. But in order to destroy Ravana, he has to befriend his brother Vibhishana. Vibhishana is sattva guna. Led by Vibhishana, Rama knows the weaknesses of Ravana. And in that story, Rama destroys Ravana. In the same way, ignorance is your target. And if you develop sattva, if you develop an ego that is full of divine qualities, that ego is not your obstacle. The Rajasic Tamasic ego is the hurdle, the obstacle. So this jiva elephant is tied to that ahamkara, the rope of ahamkara, tied by the rope rather, tied to the post of ego, by the rope of cravings. And mind is the ichor. Some elephants are very wild, and it is said that something cracks near the head, fluid comes out of it. The eyes of the elephant are completely mad, intoxicated at that time. That's the predicament of the soul, the jiva, caught in the world process led by ignorance, tied to the post of ego, with the rope of cravings, with a mind that is constantly experiencing all that is hot, that's experiencing the distress of pain, grief. Birth, deaths are the predicament of being in a marsh. This jiva elephant must be saved. How to save this elephant? Practice integral yoga in daily life. Focus your attention on how to perform your duties in a more artistic way, so that you can accomplish more and feel more relaxed. How to blend your daily duties with worship, prayer. Come to a state of understanding the very work you do is a part of your prayer. So you should not build up the idea that when will I stop and get into puja room and just pray. And especially when the job is arduous. to develop the idea, let me pray. Prayer is better than the job. I must say I'm talking on a very advanced level. So that's the ideal, that your work, you should not move away from your duties. But while performing your duties, devotion must go on developing within you more and more. The term is upasana. Meditation and worship both blend together. Normally, human mind is many-pointed, contrasted from the ideal one-pointed. To be ekagrata, mind having one point, clarity of focus. If you have that, then you are really enjoying the wakeful world. You are awake in the world. Otherwise, you are not really. Because the mind is moving in different directions. And also it is giving you a sense of restlessness. A sense that there is nothing here in the world that will give you absolute rest. To be at home. You are never at home when the mind has so many things to run after. Therefore, but that's what people call awakened state. You are awake. But your wakeful state is very sick because of anekagrata of the mind. Mind is running in many directions. If you begin to allow your mind to follow japa, worship, meditation, in the beginning you create a time for sadhana. And if you are practicing your sadhana, you have a time for meditating, time for japa. This continues to influence your unconscious. The goal is that your unconscious becomes charged with positive vasanas, a divine type of impressions. Therefore, even when you are involved in activity, the subtle stream of devotion flows on. It's like a fragrance. You have put fragrance on yourself. So even though you are involved in many things, the fragrance continues. Now the third aspect. Third aspect is jnana. Allowing your mind to understand, allowing your intellect not to be gripped by ego, to have clarity of understanding. Who am I? In other words, you practice 4 yogas: karma yoga, action, how to do your action; bhakti yoga, devotion; dhyana yoga, meditation. Devotion and meditation is grouped as one called upasana. Just details, little details. And then jnana yoga, reason. 4 aspects in your personality: action, emotion, will and reason. they must be touched in your daily life. Should not ignore any one of them. And they should be well blended. Then you are doing sadhana in a profound way. The result of that sadhana, you are enriched day by day. You realize the joy of life, the blessings of being a human being, the immense thrill of moving towards God realization. All this process is called self-effort, purushartha. It is by your purushartha, O Rama, you can save this elephant. And the saving the elephant requires 2 points. Overpowering ignorance and releasing the soul from its bondage with that big post. That means destroying ignorance and ego. If these two are moved away, the elephant is safe. The jiva is safe. In order to strike down this ego, rajasic, tamasic ego, you need to negate asaktis, attachments, internal and external attachments. External attachments, you are attached to external home, chair, objects, clothes, so many things people get attached to. Internal, you are attached to certain ideas, notions, prejudices. Simple points to be remembered that just like in a kitchen, you deal with certain vegetables like bananas and jackfruits. They have much gluey stuff in them. To be a good cook, you need to keep your hands safe from being glued up. And the simple method is allow some type of a grease, the butter, any type of oil up your hands, and then go ahead. Make the best of whatever you are cooking. Similarly, allow your mind to be oiled up with devotion to God. Not a hard thing to understand, because God comes first, because the divine sustenance is ever present, and the mind must develop that type of understanding that God comes first. And all things that you experience in the world is in and through God. In brief, that God is a source of boundless love. That there is a motherly love, the mind as it recognizes, it has become oiled. A child in the arms of the mother is not going to go after other mothers. There are lots of things to tempt the child. But in the arms of the mother, the child has no no attachment anywhere. So enjoy that type of closeness with God within you and go on increasing that closeness. The world then will slip away from you. The gluey aspect of the world will not touch you. It's called asakti nirasan. You're removing the attachments. So the Shankaracharya is saying, satsangatve nihasangatvam. The more you get involved in satsanga, get more and more attached to satsanga. Satsanga is the oiling process. Good association. Satsangatve nihasangatvam. Your hands remain completely free of glue. You remain detached. Nisangatve nirmohatvam. The more detached you are, the more free you are of moha, deluded feelings about the world, delusions. The waves of delusion that create in mind so much agony. The delusion is, how can I live without a particular house? How can I live without a particular object or people around you? The mind has enormous things to worry about. If you don't have that, then turn the TV and find there are enormous problems going on everywhere. Nirmohatvam. Allow your mind to be stripped of moha. Because all things you are worrying about, they are not worth your worrying about. Your worries do not help anything. That's what when Arjuna went on describing his mental state at the time of Mahabharata battle, Krishna turns to him and says, Ashocya nanu ashochastvam. O Arjuna, you are grieving for things not worth grieving for. And the entire Gita ends up, therefore don't grieve. That's the essence of the whole Gita. Ma shrucha. Ashocya nanu ashochastvam. Therefore, ma shucha. You are grieving about things not worth grieving for, therefore don't grieve. Nirmohatve nischal tattvam. The moment mind becomes nirmoha, not deluded, bringing things to the mind that's completely irrational. What's happening in the world, that has nothing to do with you. What's going to happen in you is your karmic process. And God within you is guiding you, allowing your mind to be burdened by so many worries and anxieties, and when you feel that there is no worry or anxiety, the mind becomes bored. That habit of the mind must be broken. Nirmohatve nischal tattvam. Then the mind has the amazing thrill to discover an everlasting state of peace. You are not living there's something to happen and hopping from day to day. but living to dive deeper and deeper into silence until diving itself is drowned forever. When all these asaktis are cut down, attachments, one becomes liberated. Ego-based thoughts, they are like clouds. Clouds that obscure the light of the self. So therefore, more dense is your ego. As ego becomes increasingly dense, there is increasing suffering. The light of the self moves away from you, like a cloud that has obscured the sun. But as ego diminishes, the light begins to express itself. This is the central mantra of spiritual ascent. And in 7 steps, this is accomplished, called Jnana Bhumikas. I have pointed out before, and I can go on doing that because Gada Parinyaya. Same thing is told again and again, like hammering. First step, Shubhecha. An aspiration develops within you that I am in bondage, let me attain liberation. That idea comes because Shubhecha, that the best of desire you have developed, Shubha Ichcha, and is desire that is going to bring all that is auspicious in your work, in your life. We use the term Shubha and Ashubha. Shubha is that which brings lots of prosperity. Ashubha is that gives you a negative omen of negative things that are going to happen. As long as you have vikshipta type of ichcha, distracted desires in your mind, life is not going to encounter positive, divine experiences. Ashubha, it foretells misery. But when that desire develops a special type of hunger for attaining liberation, Shubhecha has started. You are looking at life that's going to be bathed in the shower of divine grace. Shubhecha leads you to vicharana. I'm not going into too much detail now. Shubhecha means you are developing divine qualities needed for an aspirant. Discriminative intellect, dispassion, the various qualities like serenity, control of the senses, renunciation, endurance, faith, tranquility, and aspiration for God realization. All that come together, they are the qualities that an aspirant must go on developing. You go on developing. As you go on developing, you come to next level. Your mind enjoys penetrating into the mysteries of life and soul. Otherwise, mind doesn't have much of thrilling project before it. So that comes vicharana. And this type of thinking process doesn't create a stress on the mind. Think of a bird that is not yet about to fly. Looks at the world creates a stress. Thoughts create stress. When will I be able to fly? When I will be able to go into the sky, to reach the rainbow? But think of the bird, that swan that has emerged out of the egg, no longer weak. It flies. Thoughts fly. The mind has kind of a freedom of a swan. That's what people get inspiration. We talk about poets, how they became inspired. Shankaracharya and Guru, great sages, Vasistha, Valmiki, and all sages, past, present, future, poets, and people in all types of activities. There are times when they become inspired. During inspiration, qualitative services are rendered to humanity. Otherwise, lots of perspiration. The vicharana leads you to tanu manasi, mind that is not burdened by gross impurities. All gross impurities have become attenuated. The joy of that mind can be compared to a person who has always a headache in the head. And there comes a time headache has gone away. You don't even know that there is a head. In Tanu Manasi state, you are not exercising the mind. Mind has become a spontaneous. Advanced thoughts flow in your mind in a very gentle way, like a breeze coming through the windows. Then comes sattvapatti. Not only thoughts, the breeze coming into your room, but the light comes in. That's the fourth state. In sattvapatti, you become enlightened. As you become enlightened, you simply watch now the moving away of ignorance and ego. They are already shunned. They are going to move away, but now you watch it. In fifth step, called asam sakti. Here you have become absolutely oiled up mind. The mind has become so aware of the reality as God, Brahman, that names and forms and all these, they may have a lot of glue in them, but they don't touch that oiled up mind. That's called asam sakti. Asam sakti puts you in a state as if you are experiencing dream. I'm using a word in a figurative way. Don't start working with your eyes, fluttering the eyes and closing it. I'm dreaming the world. Is that real? That is not the practice of Vedanta. The world is very real, but you are getting awakened to reality in a profound way. The reality is God underlying all. So what I am trying to say, that in Asam Sakti state, you don't view the world as solid. Everything that happens, you take it as God's plan, divine Leela. Clouds move in the sky, and the sky takes it in a sportive way, joyous way. The sky remains detached. That Asam Sakti must develop. If Asam Sakti develops, your vasanas become so pure and transparent that you are deep down at your very heart level. The experience compared to deep sleep state. During deep sleep state, the whole world becomes zero, void. Shunya. But you are veiled by ignorance. Now, the world becomes void and you are not veiled by ignorance. The cloud has gone and the sun is shining bright. That's called Padartha Bhavana. And then last one is called Turiya. Turiya is the fourth, transcendental state, beyond the concepts of waking, dream, deep sleep. So I talked about Asam Sakti, Padartha Bhavana, and Turiya. So all this together is 7. With the removal of ignorance, with the removal of ego, the moment ego has been removed, your enlightenment is sure. Ignorance will move away easily. With the removal of ego, one experiences nirvikalpa avastha. Nirvikalpa avastha is pure consciousness without being mixed up with mental projections. Ordinary example, the screen without being mixed up by projections that create the cinema show. Pure awareness, but not awareness that has become refracted by mind and senses. This is called Paripurna Avastha, the state of fullness, absolutely full. Nothing more is needed, nothing more can be gained. All your desires are fulfilled. Purnamada, you have attained the absolute fullness from which this entire universe has proceeded as Maya, like snake on the rope, by which the entire universe is sustained. And when all this is taken away, that fullness remains full. That's what we recite. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnaka Madaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This state of Purna, absolute full, is not the object of your mind. Mind can accomplish great things, can know many things, Mind can sustain all your experience in the relative world. But while doing so, mind does it by thought waves, vrittis. All your experiences are like a cinema show, one frame being projected after another in sequence. As long as you are living on the basis of mental projections, you are not in the ocean of fullness. You are in a world of Maya. Because projections create a magic. And no matter how wonderful the magic, it is not going to endure. It is not eternal. All human achievements that history is so proud about are in the world of projections. Therefore, no matter how great things have happened, with the passage of time, millions years added to it, they all vanish into nothing. But when you are not involved with mental projection, in other words, mind cannot capture the state of nirvikalpa. In doing so, mind subsides. And you experience that not through your mind, by a direct awareness, a revelation. This experience transcends waking, dream, and deep sleep. Therefore, it is called Turiya, transcendental, the fourth. For understanding Turiya, figurative language is used. That suppose you have come to the deep sleep state without sleeping. Allow your mind to be free of all ego, multiplicity, sense perceptions, thoughts and imaginations. Get into sleep, but not normal sleep, but a positive counterpart of sleep. That state, if you could understand, imagine, and have the feeling of its grandeur, then you are stepping into the domain of Turiya, the absolute revelation of Brahman. Otherwise, there is no other simile to give you, to speak about in order to lead you to that understanding. When a vessel is broken, the space that was confined in the bucket becomes free. Ghatakash becomes Mahakash. Ghatakash means a space within the little jar. Pot ether, they call it. Break the pot, it becomes the universal ether. The jiva state is like a pot ether. Your mind is gripped with the idea that I am confined to the body. That I am awareness has evolved out of a conditioned mind. And that is the ghatakash, like the pot space. When you attain enlightenment, you have broken the pot. The pot has 3 layers: physical, astral, causal. All the 3 bodies have been transcended. So, your awareness of I am, that was like a little ghatakash, pot ether, has now become awareness of all that is. And all that is not something made up of many things coming together, but it is indivisible, absolute reality, like the sky. I am the sky. Then you never ask which part of the sky. 50%, 90%. So is I am Brahman. And with this I will conclude. Om Shanti.